Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we will go through securing NiFi itself and concepts like certificate-based authentication, multi-user authorization, and multi-tenancy. Here I have created a diagram to describe the authentication and multi-tenancy part of NiFi. To secure the NiFi, we can use SSL certificate. That means we can access it through HTTPS. And for multi-tenancy means for each user, they have a particular authorization that can be used to access a particular process groups or processors. So user 1 can access a set of process groups, but user 1 cannot access the process groups which are created by user 2. An admin can orchestrate or configure those user policies. So in this video, I will show you how to generate dummy certificates in order to configure the NiFi for certificate-based authentication, and as well as how to configure the NiFi to have a multi-tenancy usage. Before going into hands-on, we need to configure a few things. First is to generate certificates for each user and server and certificate authority. Here there are admin, user 1 and user 2, so we need 3 client certificates. And for NiFi, there will be 1 server certificate. If you don't have the certificate authority or certificates, then you can generate them using the tiny sets org. Here I have generated the admin, client, client 2 and server certificates. To create certificate authorities, you need to click here, then give your organization name. I have put like something demo and you create here. So in this certification authority, I have not got any client or server certificates. In order to do that, you click here and give your name, for example server. You can give as you want, the organizational unit, organization, demo, and just create it. So similarly, you can create for client, admin and other users. After that, you download this certificate authority, which is a cacert.pem file, and you download this pks12 archive, which will be your certificate. Following this procedure, I have generated this CA certificate, CA authority, and all these certificates for admin, for client 2, which is the user 2, and the server, which will be used is NiFi, and downloaded them and save it in the certificate folder of the NiFi installation folder. I created a certificates folder and saved them here. Next, we will generate a truststore from this cacert.pem file. In order to generate the truststore, we can use this command. This will be involving the keytool import, the file of the CA certificate and the alias name which we are giving, and the trust name store here. Remember the password when you are creating a TinyCert account. This password will be used to generate the truststore. So to show how to generate the truststore, I have used this command here, and I got this one. Now it will ask for me trust the certificate. I say yes and created this truststore, and here so 15/1/21/37 is the time, and this truststore is generated. Now we will configure the NiFi properties to configure the NiFi to point to the server and the truststore. In the site-to-site section, I have marked few lines where we need to change. So we need to provide the input host, the secure boolean value, and the socket port. And in the web properties, we need to provide the HTTPS port. In the security properties, we need to point the key store to the server client, and the trust store we have generated using the key tool. And don't forget to mention your key store password here. That's all from the NiFi properties. Now we need to change or configure the authorizers.xml, which you can find in the configuration folder. Here you will find in the user group provider there are two properties, which are initial user identity 1 and initial admin identity. Here we need to give the common name organization unit which you have used to generate the certificate. For example, for admin we have common name admin, OU demo, and Germany as country. Similarly, here the common name is admin, OU demo. All these things you need to specify in the user group provider, as well as we have the access policy provider, we need to provide the initial admin account identity here the same value which we have given in the user um, group provider. One point to note here, these are case sensitive. So if you get any error, then first check the case sensitivity or the spelling of this value. This is very unique to a particular user. And so when you start the NiFi, there you will see there are two files are generated, the authorization.xml and the users.xml. In order to access the NiFi from a certificate based authentication, we need to import those client certificates into the browser. To import those certificates into the browser, we can go to the settings of the browser and click security, go to manage certificates, and I have already imported those admin client and client 2 certificate here. You can import them through clicking this import button and next, and browse to the corresponding location. Once the certificate is imported and the NiFi is started, you can access the NiFi through this URL, which is 8484 is the port where we have configured the HTTPS connection, and you can select the corresponding certificate here. I will choose the admin right now because I want to see how we can configure for the different users and how we can create a new user also. So let's click the admin. And here is the NiFi which we have. This is the place where you can see the logged in user in NiFi. Let's check how many users are there. So we have only admin and client, which I have already created before, and I will create another user for you. So let's say for client 2, I will just copy paste this one and create client 2, for which we have generated the certificate as well already, and that's it. So right now we have 3 users, admin, client, and client 2. Let's log in through those client and client 1 and client 2 certificate. To do that, we need to start the localhost NiFi in another window, and let's select client 1, the user 1, and we see that it's the client has no access. So let's go back and manage the policies here. So see, view the user interface is only accessible to the admin. So in order to give access to the UI for a user 1, we need to provide the user 1 the access to view the user. So let's check now. Now we can access the UI through the client or the user 1. Now let's go to access the user 2. Before that, let me show you this sample 1 we can access and we can start as well. we can operate. That means now the data is here, but we cannot see the sample2, because if we go to the admin page, the user policy is the admin can only view the component, the admin can only modify the component. So let's add the user2 here for the sample2. That means we are restricting the sample2 to only be operated or viewed by the client2, not the client1. And here the modify component as well. So the client2 or the user2 can only modify the content, not anybody else. Of course, the admin, or otherwise we can delete that as well. And we can, and the client2 only can operate the component. So what we did so far now is the sample1 is only accessible for the user1, and sample2 can only be accessed by user2. And all the modification is also for sample2 can only be happened by user2. So let's start with the user2 or the client2 certificate. So the client2, and now it cannot access the user interface because we have not given access to the user interface for user2. Now when you refresh the page, you can see the sample1 is grayed out for the client2, and the sample2 we can access. When we click on the sample1, we can see the how many data are there, but we cannot access the data because we have not got access. We just see how many processors are there, that's all, nothing else. But when we go to the sample2, we can see how many processors are there, what are the processors, we can start the processors. So this tells about the multi-tenancy or multi-user access for a particular process group. But one thing to observe here is we cannot access, as a client2, this cannot access the processors in the root UI, which means in the root UI of the NiFi. But you can access inside the process group which you have given access by the admin. So this is a nice way to control the teams, or if you are working as a team, if you are working as different team for a different process group or a different line pipeline, then you can give access to a particular team, for example data team, and for example analytics team. So in this way you can achieve the multi-tenancy. So let's go back to the diagram. Here we have covered the securing NiFi with HTTPS connection through SSL certificate. With that, we have achieved the certificate-based multi-user authentication. With this multi-user authentication, we can achieve the multi-tenancy. Thank you for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel for the next video, and don't forget to click the bell icon, and have a nice day, guys.